What's up, everybody? Welcome to More Than Mortgage. Chad Anderson, Zach Jones. I'm inside, but I don't care. I'm protesting the snow from last night. This is absolutely unacceptable. And, maybe it's December, Zach, but I don't care. I'm protesting snow this early in the year. In Middle Tennessee, it's
Yeah,
January when we get the snow, it's
right.
not December. And I couldn't believe it. I was so pissed off last night. How
We,
happy late Thanksgiving. How are you?
we
I know everybody's blaming you for the snow.
yeah, we just, I kind of feel like we added an extra 5 weeks to the snow window, which is, I usually think of that snow window as like maybe 6 or 7 weeks from the second week in January through the end of February. I guess we shouldn't complain about that on a normal year, but it's way too early. I'm still looking for 65 highs of 65 in December through Christmas, and then maybe it gets a little colder. But it's been colder this year for sure.
Uh, all right. Well, let's get into some things maybe a little bit warmer, which is the spring season. I know we're only in December, but the spring season of the housing market, it'll be here. If you think about things in like days of increments instead of like, oh, that's next year, you can mentally make things shorter or longer, on a timeline. And
Right.
when you say something like, man, that is spring season, that's in March, like that feels a long time away. But if you go, hey, you realize that in less than 90 days, it's going to be March? Like in less than 90 days, the clocks are going to spring forward
Right.
and we're going to be back to a lot more daylight. Now, it's gotten to where it can still be kind of chilly in the first half of March, but people are getting outside more. You're on the brink of it. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And Zach and I, we answer these questions all the time. Zach, how many times you talk to a borrower, hey, run numbers for me on this? And you do. But then after you do that, you're sitting there and they're like, okay, run numbers on this one. And or what if we offer $5,000 more? What if we have to go $10,000 more? What if we get it $5,000 off? What if I put 10,000 extra down on the payment to get the payment lower? Those are the little things that start to play in. How do you have those conversations? I love what you said before we started. You call it driveway math.
Right.
So, yeah, talk people through this so that they all get little quick tips and tricks on payment and how to calculate or how to get an idea of what's going on and when it should, come through and so forth.
Well, this is really is one of my favorite little tips because it empowers buyers to be able to go out there, and it empowers real estate agents too. If you're not used to doing the mortgage math every day like we do, it's a great little tool to be able to clear some hurdles that might otherwise cause some worry and some anxiety and some, gosh, we need to go home and think about this. And my little quip is, hey, listen, here's a way to do some math. If you're sitting in the driveway and you're trying to figure out how to make this house work and get the fence put in the backyard for the fur babies, right? Because you got to have a fence to keep those dogs
All day,
contained, but you
all
don't
day.
really have that, and it's not really flexible. And you're trying to find me on a Sunday afternoon, and maybe I'm out of cell service because I'm sitting on a kayak in a river somewhere. This is how you do the math, okay? So
That's all
my
true, by the way, and all very possible. Those are realistic examples.
listen, I'm trying to get down to the street level on this because these are the things that happen. Is that you're excited about the house? There's somebody pulling in the driveway behind you for the next showing, and you're trying to
Right.
figure out how to get the fence in the backyard. So
You
here's
are.
how you do the math. In this market, now this is going to vary a little bit as interest rates ebb and flow, but in this market where we've got interest rates between 6 and 7%, in when you're making a small incremental jump. Now, this doesn't necessarily work for the big picture because you've got taxes and insurance and HOA dues and that sort of thing. But once you have the basics together and you're just moving the needle 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30, or maybe $40,000, the rule of thumb in this market with interest rates between 6 and 7% would be to apply about $6.50 per month per $1,000 that you increase your loan amount.
Yep.
Another way to think about that is for every $10,000 jump, $65 a month. For every $10,000 decrease in the loan amount, you reduce that monthly payment by $65 a month. So that's kind of an easy thing to do if you're trying to keep $10,000 in your pocket to redo the master bath, or to put a fence back in the backyard and rehab that deck. It's a little bit disappointing if you're trying to move the needle significantly on your monthly payment, and you say, "Hey, Zach, I'm going to put an extra $10,000 down." Well, 65 bucks a month, you do better kind of monitoring your Chick-fil-A budget than you would putting that extra $10,000 down. Put that in your pocket and save it for the fence, right?
Right.
So that's probably my best showing day. When you're out looking for houses, that's my best showing day tip for doing math on the fly, and it works most of the time. It's very close to accurate.
And you and I have done a lot of videos on this, and it's been a fraction of the total video in previous episodes. So, one, I mean, just go to any of these channels right here: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Zach Jones Loans, Mortgage Dad Chad. If you go check those out, we've got channels that have a lot of these videos already put out there where we have already hashed out a lot of the details. So, again, this is more of, people don't realize how little the needle moves sometimes. And that's the one that always gets me, because I'm big on a few different strategies, but the needle moves so little. If you offer 400 and it ends up being 399, like Zach just said, $6.50. You're just dropping zeros on each end, right?
Yeah.
So if it's 650 per 100,000, well, if you drop a zero on the 100,000, it's 10,000. You drop a zero on the 650, it's now 65. It's just that third grade type math where everything is congruent together. So if you're, like I said, driveway math, I don't know if we can afford it. Also, the other thing, like, I don't know about you, Zach, but I have this feeling. I'm very, very convicted with this. If you're out shopping in a certain budget, I'm not condoning spending recklessly. But if you truly sit here and go, all right, this is our price range, right? And if you can't, I've had this conversation with two people, not about houses, just simply about monthly budgets lately. People who are like, man, I need more money in my savings. If you're out and it's truly within your range and you're not maxed out to the gills, and $10,000, which is 65 bucks a month, makes or breaks making an offer on a home, closing or not closing, like, you're shopping out of your budget, or you
Right.
need to look at your real budget. And what I mean
Right.
by that is, I talked to somebody, I'm not kidding, had an honest conversation. I'm very guilty of this as well. We all do this as Americans. How many times you go to Starbucks a month? How many times did you order DoorDash when you could have just gotten up from the desk, driven to the restaurant? And I'm not talking about not eat the lunch. I'm talking about save the $11 on the delivery fee.
Right.
The delivery fee and the tip. How many times do you do that per month? How many times do you subscribe to Apple TV and watch one show? How many times do you subscribe to Google Drive for storage and you only use a quarter of the amount that you subscribe to? Like, I just guarantee people that if they look and they start like breaking down, like, just print out your bank statement, your credit card statement, just go straight down the list and go, okay, how much money have we kind of wasted here?
Right.
So, not to get off topic, but when we have those, people who will say, hey, this is too much. It's like, if $65 is too much, you're in the wrong price bracket. You
Right.
need to shift. But back to Zach's point, like, it's the easy math. So yeah, 10 grand. And you can even divide that in half. So 5,000 would be $32 a month. So forth. Like, it would just be on and on and on as far as you want to break it down.
Yeah, and that fits into what you were saying about, looking at the budget and being shopping in a reasonable territory. It goes into my kind of hierarchy of real estate too. I say number 1 is the right house, number 2 is the right price, and number 3 is the right rate. So the right house is always going to be number 1. And if you can't find $65 in a month in your monthly budget to buy the right house to make a a $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 investment,
Right.
then you just got to you've got to relook at what you're doing in the house hunting territory, because you may be a tier above where you need to be. So that's really, again, this is my best tip, and it really is a game changer, I think, for real estate agents to really learn that math and be able to do it on the fly. Because when you're talking about making an offer, you need to be able to understand what these movements look like. And very important, you also need to know whether or not you can qualify for that. You need to be working with a loan officer who's telling you that you've got some room to flex and flow a little bit on the qualifying ratio. So that's an important piece of it. But
Yeah.
best tip, driveway math.
So that's it. That's the show today. Short, simple, to the point. It's easy math. Again, what Zach said, don't forget there are other things like taxes, insurance, maybe PMI, which, by the way, should be your best friend. PMI is amazing. But you got those three things. But as he was saying, if you kind of know everything else and you're just looking at the loan size, very simple. 10 grand, 1,000, whatever the case may be. Very simple, $65. Again, market shifts, then that could change a little bit. But it would take a major shift for that monthly estimate to take a major change. So for now, and probably for the foreseeable future for a little while,
Yeah.
65 is not a bad, safe number to use, correct?
Bank on that until we get really good news and it's all over the place and it's the only thing that everybody's talking about. Bank on $65 a month.
And let me tell you, based on what they did right before the Fed meeting in September, there will be plenty of opinions and posts from people in and out of the industry as to what you should be doing. Yeah, we'll see a lot of those, I'm sure.
Yep.
All right. For Zach, I'm Chad. Thanks for hanging out. Like, subscribe, download, hit the bell, comment, DM if you'd like to chat it up with us, ask questions, run a scenario. We'd love to help. Appreciate everybody. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Few more episodes coming up before Christmas holiday, New Year, and already rolling into 2025. Crazy to believe that we're already there, but Here we are. So have a great one, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for